Hi, everybody. This is Tom Broussard. Nice to see everybody. It's been a couple of weeks since we last talked. I was lucky enough, I made a presentation last Saturday, September 26th, and it was my 9th anniversary to the day of my stroke in Waltham, Massachusetts, when I had my first stroke. I ended up at the Boston University Aphasia Resource Center. Back then in 2012, I had a class there. And since then, I've been working with, being part of the same group up there in Boston. So we had our meeting on Saturday, and it's an hour and a half. We all get to talk along the way, and then there's always a presentation. So last Saturday was my presentation. So it was lots and lots and lots of fun. Because now it has been over time, over years even, with stroke, with Zoom, and our ability to communicate when we're not together face to face. And a lot of us who are alums are now live around the country. So really, Zoom turns out to be a very, very useful tool for a lot of different people, and especially for us, because now we're friends and we email and talk about what's going on with our lives. So it was a lot of fun to see everybody, especially it being the exact day of my stroke 9 years ago. I really can't wait till my 10th year anniversary for all of us who are getting a little older in stroke years. There were plenty of people there that have been there for just a few months or a year and a half. Some have been there for longer than 10 years. So it is interesting how everybody ages themselves in stroke years going forward. And we all have new news to talk as we talk with each other. And there were about 44 last Saturday. So my new news was that we are moving from St. Augustine, Florida, back to Maine. We've lived in Maine for a long time, and a lot of our family are still up in Maine. So we're moving back to Maine. You can see my tie. I have new ties all the time. You see the buoy. You can actually see this. So we leave 2 weeks from today. So today being Wednesday, I might not be able to do an article and a video for a couple weeks after that until we find a place to live and get our computer up and running. So anyway, new news all around. Wicked fun to get up to Maine. That'll be a lot of fun. But my presentation with the group that I wanted to talk about here with you today, and we only have a few minutes as always, is the ABCs of Aphasia, a stroke primary. That's my 4th book that I just published this summer. And it is the link to the outside world about stroke and aphasia. And what does that mean? Well, basically, all of us with stroke and aphasia are in this bubble. This is where we live and work. We do interact with the outside world, but most of the outside world don't know anything about stroke and especially aphasia. And why would you? I had my stroke and aphasia, didn't know a damn thing about it. And it took me years to figure out what anything about aphasia really, really would mean as I got better going forward. So we, all of us in that one bubble, are trying to educate the other bubble about aphasia, not because it's something nice to know, but to the degree that when you have aphasia, and we do get better over time, it is very important that people with stroke and aphasia, know about stroke and aphasia and how it gets better, and why all of us, whether you're healthy or not, get better. Because this thing called plasticity is how we get better, and it's how healthy people learn every single day. And as a result, not a lot of people know about aphasia. They also don't know about plasticity, which is something everybody should know. In the same way we know about photosynthesis. When we're in 3rd grade, we learn how to convert light into green leaves. Plasticity converts thought and cognitive activities into neuromatter, brain matter. That's how we, quote, learn. And that's how we learn when it comes to aphasia and recovery. So yes, it is very important that we talk to the wider public. Sadly, that includes the hospitals and healthcare providers who also know, a lot of the staff know something about aphasia, but most people don't know anything about it. And I'm sure that's because why should they, unless it really affects them? We are here to tell you that it is very important to know about plasticity as a result of knowing about aphasia. But more than that, plasticity is better understanding how your brain works on a day-to-day basis when you are healthy. We're not here to talk to you about why you should do what we do, as it were. We want you to understand how your brain works the same way our brain works, and that's how we get better. So we, quote, learn, you learn the same way. And it's very helpful because these days you have to learn a lot on all kinds of different issues with the new world and new information coming into you, bombarding you every day. It's very important to understand the same way photosynthesis works, the same way plasticity works, neuroplasticity works, converting, and that is the verb that the experience-dependent component induces plasticity as a result of that and the resulting learning. But the issue that I talked about with the group, I'm talking with you, is that these two bubbles, the two worlds, are actually quite distinct. They don't really talk to each other. The people on stroke and aphasia deal with themselves, with their groups, with their clinicians, with their family, and it goes a little bit further, but not much further than that. It's difficult to get presentations at the banks or the insurance place people and talk to their staff and say, I want to talk to you about how your brain really works. And then you say, who are you? How many strokes have you had? So it is an interesting thing to realize that because we are so distinct, most of us on the inside world don't really realize how unaware, uneducated the outside world are about plasticity and aphasia. And I say that because, as an example, there was a study done a couple of years ago, and you see it in this article, and you've seen it in other of my work, and a call to action a couple of years ago to say, we have to do this. We have to get the wider world to understand about aphasia. And I've been studying and looking and finding out, of course, that even hospitals, even stroke centers of excellence still don't use the lexicon of aphasia. If you go into many, many hospitals and you put in their search box and you put in aphasia, it will often come out, and you'll see it in the article, sorry, we don't know what that is. How can that possibly be? But as I did my study, I went to the American Hospital Association, did the same thing, put in the search box, put in stroke, American Hospital Association, you'll get 150 plus hits. You put in aphasia, if you're lucky, you'll get one. And it doesn't have much to do with aphasia, it just has something about it. This is why in the outside world, that bubble really is a bubble. And we need to lance that bubble so that people can better understand what it takes to learn on any given day. And as a result, you just become more aware of how the brain works, and you can actually use that information to do more of whatever kind of learning you have to work on, what you have to process from. So that is a very, very, very important thing going forward. The lexicon is an interesting thing because if you ask most nurses, maybe even doctors, do you know about aphasia? They'll say, oh yes, we've heard about it, or we had a class in it, or whatever. Do you know much more than that? No, we pretty much don't know much more than that. That is why the lexicon is so important, so that the wider public can better understand from their doctors and nurses, because we can also help by bringing in more information into the outside world, into the hospitals. In my case, when I was discharged, because this is where you also get to see an example, when you had a stroke and aphasia, the doctors and nurses won't really talk about aphasia. A resident speech language pathology will come to see you. One came to see me a couple days after I woke up, and of course you're damaged enough that I didn't know who she was. I don't even remember seeing this person, but she was there, and wrote some notes, which I saved and I kept them. And I didn't even know. I actually put them away and I read them a year later. And she did talk about aphasia by hand. But of course, I didn't know, and neither did my family. I was discharged 6 days later with one piece of paper. One piece of paper said, here's your prescription. You're going to another rehab hospital. It's going to take about a month for your brain to settle down. So your date is a month from now, basically. It was almost exactly a month from there. I think it was one month and a day after my discharge, after my stroke. And I got that one piece of paper, and it said, here are a list of typical problems, because again, I didn't know what was going on still. And it said, one piece of paper, aphasia, cognitive linguistic disorders, dysphagia, language, dysarthria, verbal aphasia, aphasia, and voice disorders. That was what I got about aphasia. That's it. Now, of course, you can go online and find out more information about one thing or another, but it really did take me years to figure out what aphasia really is when it comes to how people who have lost their language could not read, write, or speak well. And that was me as a dean at that college outside of Boston at Brandeis University. I didn't know how I would get better until I, quote, did get better, somewhat accidentally. It would be nice to know a little bit more. Again, not that I necessarily could have brought in that information into my brain at the time, but if my family had it, they would have seen what they could see. They would see the images, the explanations, and day by day, as they read this, and it's a very small book, but it provides you with lots more information about the A to Z of aphasia. Then it also gives you all the tips and the links to the rest of the world about the aphasia world. That family at least could have used that, learned from that, and on a day-to-day basis would have been able to tell me, Tom, as the patient, oh, Tom, this is what this means. This is what this means. And I would learn more about it than the 1 hour a week I got with my wonderful therapist. So this book is part of the call to action from the author, who is the one who said we need to do this to get more of the wider public than the 7 or 8 people in our country who are aphasia aware. And this book, and there can be many, many other tools, but this particular book is the tool that would put this in the hands of every single person and or their family, because I have been a volunteer here at this local hospital. So when somebody has a stroke, I get called. I'm a volunteer there, been there 8 years. Everybody knows who I am from the president on down. I'll get that call and say, so-and-so in the neighborhood or in the city has a stroke. Can you please come? Obviously, I can't see the person, or I can, but they didn't know who I was, and talk to their family. And I would bring my books or a book and give it to them and say, please, this is a gift. Use it. You'll be able to understand better. But I'm telling you, I was like any other person who had a stroke and could not read, write, or speak well. And I got better. And it is a marathon. It is not a sprint. But at least at the start, you have something to work with. Not wait until much further in the process before either you get enough books to read them all, or you start printing them out of the computer and learn a little bit. And even a little bit is much better than nothing for sure. But this is the link that allows you to move from the world of not knowing anything to knowing something enough to help you in this marathon of a journey of stroke, aphasia, and recovery. Because everybody learns all the time. You cannot not learn. And all of my group friends, no matter who they are, and I can describe many people, obviously much more damaged than I ever was, even at the very beginning. But they are wonderful, funny, unable to communicate, but still can communicate through their body language. And you can continue to understand that we are communicating. You just cannot express what you need to do now. But every single day, all of us in those rooms are learning. And if that means we are learning, then that means we are improving in every communication modality of reading, writing, and speaking going forward, given that it is a marathon, not a sprint. Thank you very much to everybody. It's nice to see everybody. And I am sure I will get back to you next month, meaning October, and we'll talk about something new. But good luck to everybody going forward. I do appreciate the opportunity with the folks who have been watching my videos going forward. Take care of yourself. See you soon. Bye-bye.